I just had a little mini mark out moment because I've been a fan of Maria since she debuted, and holding the ropes for her, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I love her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Sunday Fundy. Are we excited to meet Maria? My girls are here. Hello. So I have to say, we are so excited to have you here, and I am marking out because I am a huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
Honestly, so I've interviewed you maybe once before, once or twice.
Yes.
But I have to say, like, this is what's so great about Monopoly events. You know, our tagline is by the fans, for the fans. And I am a fan of yours. If I can go back to the beginning.
I'm a fan of yours.
No, thank you. If I can go back to the beginning, I remember seeing you on the Diva Search and being like, this is a star. Give her all of the accolades. Can we go back to that time in your career and talk about what the Diva Search was like? Because I feel like it produced so many amazing stars, right? The Bellas, you, there were so many great, Christy Hemme. There were so many great girls in that alumni. But what was the Diva Search experience like for you? Because I loved it.
Okay, so I was a huge fan of wrestling. So I was watching Monday Night Raw, and they said, oh my gosh, we're going to have this Diva Search. And I entered my name thinking this is never going to happen. I had already been doing some modeling, and I was from a dancer background, and I was trying to get into acting, and everywhere I went, they were like, you're too fat, and you're too short, and all this. But by the way, I was very, very skinny. It was just the people I was in front of they had very different beliefs. And so I entered the Diva Search thinking, like, this is never going to happen. But at the same time, I wanted to just try.
Yeah.
You know, and I was from this small town and always wanted to get out of that small town. And so I entered, and then the next week, I saw my photo on Monday Night Raw, and I'm screaming, and like we had a video, or we had filmed it that night, and so we had it recorded and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me, and we're replaying my photo that was on Monday Night Raw because I was just so excited to see that. And then I went on and I did there was the next round of castings, and so I did that in Chicago, and then I finally made it to New York. And, you know, the whole time, it was like this conflict for me of, I was such a huge fan of wrestling, and I was such a huge fan of all these people that were judging me, but at the same time, I wanted to, you know, perform really well, so I couldn't be fangirling the whole time I was there. So, and then I'm surrounded by all these amazing women that are over there right now, Lita and Trish, who I looked up to as a fan. And, you know, women that empowered me to believe that I could go out there and do something special and important with my life, something strong, something smart, something empowering. And so because I'm in the locker room with them, I'm feeling very much like, okay, how do I act? I don't know. And so then we go through this Diva Search, and they had us do some very interesting things while I was on it. You know, there was some things. There was some pie eating. There was a round of not so complimentary things that we were saying to each other, Christy Hemme in particular. And I got eliminated during that. And so I flipped everybody off, and I went to the back, and someone, as I'm walking to the back, said, that just got you a job. So because I flipped off another girl that was in the ring with me, that ended up getting me a job. But I didn't believe it at the time. So what happened was someone told me, call us again in a month. And I was like, okay. I called again in a week.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, call again. And so I called again the week after that. And I called again in the week after that. And finally they said, okay, how about you go to OVW and train to be a wrestler?
Wow.
And I didn't, at the time, I wanted to be an interviewer just like you. And I didn't necessarily want to get into the wrestling ring, but it kind of draws you in.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, maybe I could try that too. Yeah. I tried it. I wasn't very good at it, but, you know, try as I may, I kept fighting.
It's so much harder than you think it's going to be, right?
Yes.
I was talking about that yesterday, and it's like, it's so grueling, and it looks easy, but it's not. It's very, very, I was talking to Mandy Sachs and how she sort of had to learn on TV. She was on Tough Enough.
Yeah.
And she had to, you know, you were watching her on TV.
Well, we did too. There were things that I was learning that day that I was doing that night. And luckily, because I had an athletic background and I had been a dancer, I was able to learn. But it was never perfected because it was just like try as you may. As you're going out there and it's live TV and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this right. But even if you landed on your head and you felt terrible, you still went out there and you did it again the next day. That was just how it was because you wanted to be there because it was this huge arena and there was all these people and you wanted to perform well. So even though you didn't have the training, you did it anyways.
And you're learning on the fly, which is so crazy. We were talking about Eva Marie, for example, who is someone that, she learned on TV. It's a really grueling business. It's so much harder than you think. That's why we were talking about Tough Enough. But with you, again, the Diva Search, I loved it. I thought it really integrated a lot of like reality TV fans into wrestling. But my goodness, you've had such an amazing career. If I can just kind of fast forward, obviously you're so respected in wrestling, and I think you're known for female empowerment, which is so important to me.
Because I have a big mouth.
Well, maybe. Well, high five for that. Let's give a round of applause to having a big mouth and female empowerment because it's so important in wrestling. But now you're really paying it forward to females in wrestling. So, is that sort of something that you thought of from the beginning, or when did you find out that would be your mission in wrestling to help other females? Because you're so great at it.
Thank you. I try. Still a lot of work to do. But from the time I was very little, my dad always said that women belonged in the kitchen and that, women shouldn't go out into the world and do all these things. He feels very differently now. And we've taught him better, having two strong daughters. We have definitely taught him that is not the only place that we belong. We can belong there. If that is our mission and our goal in life is to be there, that is fine. But as I went along and through my childhood, I just always knew I wanted to be more. I wanted to fight for the things I wanted, I believed in, and I wanted to fight for women. And being from a small town, there were beliefs that, women couldn't do certain things. And so that just kind of trailed on to being in the Diva Search and being in WWE, and then throughout my wrestling career is continuing to fight and to fight for more things. I mean, when I was released from WWE the first time, it was because they offered me 1/3 of what my contemporaries were making that were males. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I will not sign that. And it was, it's a struggle because you're looking at this conglomerate, this humongous company, WWE, and you're telling them no. And you're telling them, no, I deserve more. I'm worth more. I was on the road just as much as everyone else, if not more, waking up, doing all the media, taking the bumps, doing all the things, being in these ridiculous storylines. And you expect me to accept less because what? I have a rather than a... And no, thank you.
I get you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got you.
So that, after that experience and, being released from WWE and thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I'll never work in the wrestling world again. And a lot of fans believing, oh, well, she's probably done. And then, leading on to getting the call to possibly doing Ring of Honor and working with my husband in Ring of Honor. And then having Jay Briscoe, God rest his soul, treat me the way that he did, respect me the way that he did, make it believable that a woman could cut a promo over someone that I still believe is the strongest man I ever met in Jay Briscoe. And because he was so very courteous and respectful of me, the entire Ring of Honor locker room was. And I really, to this day, I devote the second half of my career to the Briscoe brothers.
Oh my God.
Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been believable at all in Ring of Honor. And I miss him. I feel his presence every single day when I'm on Ring of Honor now. I pray and I hope that, we're doing a good job and trying to live up to his memory and the person he was as a locker room leader. I know that Mike and Matt feel the same exact way. But, once he gave me that okay, that little head nod of like, yes, you can do this. You can be a strong manager. You can be just as strong as every other male manager in this industry. Yeah. Then it just kept on going. It really built up my own self-esteem, my own confidence in this industry. And then, fast forward to being able to be in Impact, and oh my gosh, working with Gail was absolutely incredible. And what she was doing for women, and the way that she fought for that women's division, and her career. It was just being able to do that, and then back to WWE, and it's just really been an incredible ride.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, your work in ROH is some of my favorites. By the way, the Briscoe brothers, give it up for the Briscoe brothers. And for Gail Kim, so many amazing people that you mentioned. And honestly, like, your work as a man, I'm a big fan of managers. Like, I never wanted to be a wrestler. I never wanted to go after a belt for any reason. I bruise like a peach. It's a whole thing. But I really respect managers, and I think that's kind of a lost art in wrestling. Do you agree that the managing aspect of wrestling is sort of lacking nowadays? Because you don't see a lot of managers anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. Because what is the purpose of a manager? And I think that sometimes managers try and fall into one mold of what that is. But managers can fulfill a lot of different roles. And when you find that particular role that you're good at, whether it be as, just being an extension of the crowd and telling the crowd, like, okay, this is what we should think, this is what we should believe as whatever is happening in the ring, or are you a mouthpiece? Or are you the damsel in distress? What are you when you're out there managing? And I think that, so many times we don't commit enough as managers to that believability, to that what we're actually trying to portray when we're out there. And so once that kind of person comes along that's able to commit, like a Paul Heyman, it becomes so believable and so enjoyable to watch. And you also know what you're watching for.
Right.
You're with Heyman, you're watching for that credibility because everybody he works with is a star. And so you believe it, whoever it is that comes out with him. It could be a person we've never met before, but if you come out with Paul Heyman, you're automatically a star. For sure. So what is it you're trying to portray? And that, I think, is probably the biggest problem with managing right now, is like it's not given that time to become, what that manager wants to be, what they're trying to portray.
Very well said. I will say, so you've had an illustrious career. You've been in the locker rooms of WWE, of ROH, and TNA. Can you walk us through what are the differences between the locker rooms? As I know, it's like it's very Dr. Evil, right?
I can't help it. I'm like a little kid in these seats,
Yeah, Trish was saying, like we feel like we're neglecting this side of the ring. It's like
it's like, hey, we'll go over here for a little bit. Hey,
there we go. I'm just going to keep spinning as I ask you this question.
Okay, do it.
So in your illustrious career, ROH, WWE, TNA, can you walk us through the differences in the locker rooms? Like, what were the vibes in each locker room, and how did they differentiate?
Okay, so Ring of Honor was, and still is, my heart, my love, my family. It's just, you feel as if you're fighting from underneath. You're the underdog. And I think it always will have that feeling of like a company that's all fighting together. WWE is the lights and the show, and it's, this magnificent conglomerate that they've created. AEW is some of the greatest wrestling in the world. And you feel it. You definitely feel it when you're there. Like, the guys go out there, and it's almost like they're like, how crazy can we get tonight? How wild are we going to make it? How much blood can there be in the ring? And, like, gosh, my husband loves it. Mike Bennett, man, he's ready for those matches. He cannot wait to get those matches because you can have those in AEW, and you can't necessarily have those everywhere else. You can have those in Ring of Honor, but right now Ring of Honor's not on TV. But, like, AEW definitely has that vibe of, like, who's going to get nuts? Like, yes, it's a wild company. And then, Impact. Like, you just know with that women's division that it's going to be some of the greatest wrestlers in the world. And, I mean, I feel that in AEW as well. I feel that in Ring of Honor right now. Like, wow, there is some great women's wrestling out there. Give it up for women's wrestling.
Heck yeah. And we're so lucky here at For the Love of Wrestling to have people like Mandy and Trish and Lita and Maria that are here representing the best of female wrestling. Now, we're going to get to you guys, so get your questions ready. but I'm gonna have to fangirl for a moment because I've interviewed Maria, I think it was only one time, and I don't want to fangirl too much, but Brooker, you know who I can't help but be a fangirl. I have to say, my favorite era for me, with all due respect to very serious women's wrestling, I did not get into wrestling to be, a very serious wrestler. I wanted to be a diva. I wanted to do the Caribbean photo shoots and things like that. And you, Miss Maria, were one of my faves. What was it like to do, again, fangirl question, I apologize. What was it like to do the photo shoots and be a WWE diva? And how do you deal with the stigma that that's now like it's somehow frowned upon? And I'm like, I would never be in wrestling if it wasn't for the diva side of wrestling, right?
Isn't that wild?
It's so crazy.
It's wild. So I've had so many women today that are in AEW, that are wrestling for AEW, that are sometimes in black and white on AEW, that are sometimes working in Japan and also in AEW, that are these incredible wrestlers that have come up and said, I got into wrestling because of the divas.
Exactly.
And so my views have changed over the years. They really have. Like there was a time I was like, oh, divas, I don't like that word. I don't want to be a part of that. But now I have this appreciation because it's almost like looking through the eyes of your children and seeing things for the first time and saying, oh my gosh, that really did influence women back then, influence little girls, influence people to think, oh my gosh, I can go out there and be shiny and feathery and, with the fringe and all the makeup and the biggest hair in the world. And I can still be powerful and look like that. I can still be flamboyant and be out there and do the things I want to do. I can be girly and also strong. And so now, because,
Yes, round of applause for that. We love that.
But now, seeing it through these women's eyes that have come up believing that the divas were special, like, it's given me a new appreciation of that time in my life. Did we get as much time as we deserved? No. Did we get the opportunities we deserved back then? No. But I think the fans all knew what the Trishas and Litas could do, what the Victorias could do, what the Beth Phoenixes, what the Mickie Jameses have been able to do. And I think that, even though so much of it sucked, there was still so much beauty in that time.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like with feminism, if I can get serious for a minute, feminism is about choice, right? So like my choice was not to be a serious wrestler. I wanted to be more of a diva. Tori Wilson was my Hulk Hogan, Trish Stratus. I loved the photo shoots. And I also loved, like, you were an interviewer. So for me, wanting to talk more and not be a wrestler was very empowering. So
yeah, I enjoyed going out there into the ring. I enjoyed when every once in a while something I tried to do, a move I tried to do would actually land. And I might have gotten a 1 or 2 count on somebody.
Yes.
But I liked being an interviewer. I liked being involved with as many storylines as I could be. And I thought that was okay too. And I still think it's okay.
Yes.
I think there is a place for everyone in this business.
Exactly.
I don't think you have to be one thing or another. I think you can be all sides of being a woman or being a man and still be in this business.
Yes. Oh my, so well said. Round of applause. Honestly, like, you can be a Rhea Ripley, you can be whatever you want to be, but honestly, your work in wrestling really inspired me, so I want to say a personal thank you to you. Big fan.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, I could fangirl forever, but we're going to actually go to the fans for a moment. Mr. Brooker, do we have a fan question?
We do. What's your
Yay.
name, my friend?
Kate,
Hi, Kate.
so you've mentioned, obviously, from a wrestling aspect that Trish and Lita were a really good support for you. In terms of your management career, who did you find that really helped you with that?
I'm a Paul Heyman girl. I was in Ohio Valley Wrestling with him, and he really helped my career out. Of course. Thank you.
Any Paul Heyman fans in the crowd? I mean, who's better than Paul Heyman? It's like, it's such an education when he's on TV. Brooker, you got to be a Heyman guy. Come on.
Of course, and I have stolen liberally from him when I was everything he said about managing. Very briefly, a manager in Morecambe. It's an interesting place.
He's going to charge you for that, Brooker. Heyman's going to come after his fee. You know he will.
Young man, I believe you owe me royalties, sir.
It might be a thing, yes.
That's good.
If you have a question for the lovely Maria, just raise your hand. We've got one over here to the left.
Have you
And-
not had enough attention
and one
today,
over here.
Marius? Come on.
So, good to see you, Maria.
Good to see you.
First of all, I really love your song.
Oh, thank you.
Second of all, I miss you in the ring. So, my question is about that. If you were to have one more match against any AEW current wrestler, which one will it be?
Oh, it's tough because there's been a few women in AEW that have asked. I think Deanna would be a good choice. I think, gosh, Queen Amanada has said, come on, we're both mothers, let's do this. And I think that, Queen is just such an inspiration. And I think that would be awesome. Tony, for sure. There's too many. There's just a lot. And it's tough because my daughter she wants to see me wrestle one more time. And so at some point, maybe I'll do it, but I can't guarantee it'll be good.
I think it would be amazing. By the way, round of applause all the way from Romania. That's how
thank you for
far
being
Monopoly
here.
Events is reaching.
Thank
We
you.
love that.
The Romanian nightmare himself.
The Romanian nightmare. We love that. I gotta say, so much talent in that AEW locker room. So many amazing females. But females or males, is there anyone in the AEW spectrum that you actually think is like the next big thing? Like, who do you watch and you go, they're so good?
Griff Garrison and Cole Carter. Griff had an incredible match with Adam Copeland. It was so cool to just see him out there, coming off an injury, wondering where he was going to go next in his career. Just so much talent, and he listens. I manage both of them. And so, like, going out to the ring with them, at first I was very nervous because they're two young guys, and one of them loves hot moms. I mean, I can't say it, but hot mom. And so, like, being able to manage them and just watching, how much they love wrestling is really, like, it's just so inspirational to see.
There's so much talent. That AEW fans in the crowd, I'm sure. So much talent in that AEW locker room. We've got a question over here. The gentleman on the left. Hello,
my
Matt.
crew here
My
for me,
gorgeous.
right? Do not touch the microphone.
Oh, that was we actually talked about this about not touching the mic. Sorry. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Hi. In hindsight, the Diva Search, your series, was like when you look at the women, they all went on to do quite, big things in wrestling. There was Michelle McCool, there was you, Christy, Amy and Joy even had quite a good run on SmackDown. So my question is there anyone from your, series of Diva Search who you think either could have done more and could have been bigger if they'd have been, had a better writing behind them? Or is there anyone who didn't get a contract who you think should have got a contract?
Interesting question. I would have to say that I think every single woman that was in the Diva Search itself that went on to continue having a career in WWE that actually did get signed, I think that they could have done more with them. I mean, even, Michelle McCool, I would have liked to watch her grow even more. Her wrestling had gotten so good. Candice Michelle is another one that, she worked her ass off to get to where she was, and I think she had so much more to go. I was really blessed to be surrounded by such incredible women, and I think that each one of them that decided to stay in WWE or ended up getting a contract with WWE could have done even more in a different time.
Yes, great question, Matt. Honestly, I have to ask, again, being a fan of the Diva Search, do you think they should bring it back? Because if you think about how many amazing stars the Diva Search did produce, do you think if it came back, maybe with some alterations, do you think it would be a good thing for them to bring it back into current
I wouldn't
current time?
necessarily do a Diva Search. What I would do is getting to know the current rosters of these companies, because there's so many women that are in the divisions right now that I feel like could be, it could be highlighted, could have more time. could be able to showcase it. So I would love if there was a separate all-women show, of course, that would be able to highlight these women, because you can only see so much. You know, when you're only getting 1 or 2 segments on TV, or even if you're getting 4 segments and you have a roster that has 20 incredible wrestlers, like, you're not getting enough time with each woman. So I would like to see a search that is of the actual roster and see who the fans really, truly want to see.
For sure. And that was nice. Exactly. Round of applause for that. But also the fan interaction was cool to have them kind of weigh in.
Exactly,
If
yeah.
I could ask you candidly to play favorites, it could be WWE, it could be AEW, it could be TNA. Which females are you looking at going, they're the next big thing? Like, name a few females that you think are actually like really killing it right now. They're slaying.
Oh, Mariah May. I would say Trish Adora, Queen Aminata, Willow. Gosh, I think Tiffany just had a really excellent showing. I'm trying to think who else. Gosh, there's so many.
It's a good thing though, isn't it? Like there's a lot of names. Yeah.
It is. There's so many good names. It's nice seeing Layla Hirsch come back after her injury. I was able to, be on with her a little bit. There's a lot. There's a lot of women. And then there's a lot of women coming in from Japan right now that I'm like, ooh, okay.
But how cool that we're
Janai Kai, Jordan Blake, like there's a lot.
Yeah. That's a good thing. We're kind of spoiled for choice, which is a great thing. We've got a question from this
We have one more question, and we have a champion who has something to say.
Oh, hello.
And I will break with tradition as respect for the champion. The microphone is yours.
Oh, look
Ooh la la.
at this. It's okay, you can hold it. It's all right.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Emily, and I just want to say I love your work. And what is your favourite match and why?
Thank you, Emily.
My favorite match. Gosh, I'm trying to think. It's tough because I've spent the last 13 years as a manager, and I didn't have a whole lot of matches that. Okay, so there was a match with Gail Kim, and we had all the bells and whistles. We had trash cans and kendo sticks, and I was a nervous wreck because I'd never done a match like that before, but Gail was awesome. And man, I was in it. I was in those moments, and it was on TNA, and yeah, that match. It was an incredible experience for me because I just had never done anything like that before. Yeah, that match.
By the way, Gail Kim fans in the crowd, come on. She's on my Mount Rushmore of female wrestling. I mean,
Yes.
just one of the best ever.
Yes.
We love Gail Kim. Any more questions for Maria?
We're going to have to take it home, I'm afraid. I could sit, stand, watch, listen all day, but...
I could just, I know,
I'm sorry,
I could just,
I talk a lot.
I could fangirl, I know. Are we out of time already? Stop it.
I
You
can't
guys.
stop time.
I can't.
How
Honestly,
about
again,
one more?
I want to
One
reiterate.
more.
I'm
One
not going
more.
to argue with you. One
Can
more
we do
question.
one more
I don't want to
question?
sit over there. It's really cold over there. It's nice and warm under these
I
You
lights.
know.
are in the 3 square feet.
We
under
have
these
one.
lights.
Come on, everybody. That's one of my friends over here has a question. We'll do one final question.
This gentleman here. Come
Because
on down,
otherwise,
sir.
it's going to be just me asking you diva questions for the rest of the day, and there's a lot.
That's
all
a
to
hard
do.
truth. It'll just be Val going, "You're amazing."
You're so beautiful. I know, it's going to get weird. We're going to do this question.
just
There's
turn
one more
away
from
like
our
this.
friend over here. Yes, thank you.
All right, what's your name, my friend?
Lee,
And what's your question?
the question is, do you prefer being a face or a heel? And if you were back in the 80s, would you rather be a Miss Elizabeth role or a sensational Sherry role?
Can I be both? So I liked wrestling as a babyface, but I like managing as a heel. I liked being a babyface. It was fun being in a babyface, but only in the ring. Now, as a manager, no, come on. Being a heel is so much more fun.
It's so much fun.
Come on down.
Thank you.
What's your name, man?
Kiefer, just a really quick one.
Okay.
You've obviously done some amazing work as a manager, and I work some independence as a manager myself. Love working as a heel. More than anything, I love taking a bump because I love building that heat and then taking the bump. So my question to you is, what is the best sort of manager bump that you've ever took, or a pop that you felt this was worth
The
to build?
triple super kick shenanigans I did in Ring of Honor. AJ and then the Bucks. And so the Bucks were on the apron and AJ was in the middle of the ring, and man, that hurt. It crushed my neck. It was just bing. I think I was a little bit shorter for about 2 weeks after that. It was insane. But my favorite one to give was I gave a super kick to Christopher Daniels, and man, did he deserve it that night.
We
That
love
was
Daniels.
awesome. It was so
that was a
fun.
great question. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to let you get back to the autograph and photo op
Okay.
area. But any final words for your adoring fans here in Manchester? And by the way, thank you for coming all this way to honor us with your presence. You're
Can
amazing.
I stand now? Can I
Of course,
stand?
of course.
All right. Well, let me pull up my pants.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You could do a
Okay.
tap number, whatever you want to do. You do
I just
you,
want to say
boo.
thank you. Coming from a small town, I never really thought that I would be able to do this. And now I've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm able to be a mom and still do this. And to show my kids that, you can do anything that you believe in and that you want to do. So thank you so much to all of your wonderful comments, all your questions. Thank you. I appreciate you.
We are
And
so.
thank you, Val.
Oh
Thank
gosh,
you.
thank you.
I'm gonna hug you and not spill your coffee.
Honestly, let's give it up for Maria, ladies and gentlemen. A big Manchester applause for Maria, because listen, shaping the future of our female wrestlers, an amazing, amazing talent, and an icon of professional wrestling. Let's hear it one more time for Maria Kanellis.